So we're back to the 28th dynasty now, and it's a dynasty established at Sais, 404 BCE to 398 BCE. So it was only around for 6 years. And we've got a chap who's called himself Psamtik V. Unfortunately, he didn't last long. Maybe he wasn't capable. There's a lot of instability during this latter part of the late period. There's a lot of international tension, and the elites are looking for strong leadership. Unfortunately, he was murdered by Nectar at Memphis, and Nectar I became the next king and the first king of the 29th dynasty. He was a general of the city of Mendes. So again, I think he was concerned that maybe Psamtik V wasn't a charismatic enough leader at this very troubled time. You've got the Persian Empire sitting on your doorstep, so you do want somebody who's quite capable. So the general Nectar I ruled Egypt from 399 BCE to 393 BCE, just 6 years. He did introduce some minor building projects throughout Egypt, small kiosks, neo-bearing statues, that sort of thing. And we're looking at small works at Karnak, Apis, Buta, which are quite important deities. So what I think he was trying to do was he was trying to install some kind of stability into the people of Egypt. You know, the people of Egypt needed something to believe that they were going to be safe. And I think by incorporating these minor building works throughout Egypt on the temples, he was trying to feel supported and safe. Nectar I did support the Spartans when they took the island of Cyprus, and also when the Spartans took the island of Rhodes. He was succeeded by his son Hathor, who ruled Egypt for 1 year. Fortunately, Hathor was overthrown, and then he returned to Egypt and overthrew his usurper. So you can see how unstable the elites are feeling. Hathor was succeeded by his son Nectar II, who only ruled Egypt for 4 months, and he was killed by Nebo I. So Nebo I established the 30th dynasty from 380 BCE. He was concerned about defending Egypt from the Persians. He recruited the aid of Athens and Sparta to help him fight off the Persians. In 365 BCE, Nebo I appointed his son Teos as heir to Egypt. So let's have a look at the building projects of Nebo I. He didn't rule Egypt long, but he started the first pylon at Karnak. He started the temple of Isis on the island of Philae down in Elephantine, and mining building works all over Egypt. So he thought it was a good idea to try and give the Egyptian people some kind of stability by incorporating these building works. He repulsed an invasion attempt by the Persians, which was in 374 BCE, and he repaired the Avenue of Sphinxes at Luxor Temple. Now, while Teos was away, his brother encouraged his nephew to depose him back home, and his nephew became Nebo II. Teos is stuck out in the middle of nowhere with his army of Greek mercenary and Egyptians. What's he going to do? He goes off to the Susa and offers his services to the Persians. So Nebo II ruled Egypt from 360 BCE to 342 BCE, 18 years. He incorporated minor temple projects, building repairs, that sort of thing. He employed Mentor of Rhodes, who was a Greek mercenary, into the army in 358 BCE. What Nebo II lacked was experienced generals. So he was relying on Greek mercenaries to fill that gap. So he sent Mentor off with 4,000 Greek mercenaries to support the revolt at Sidon. Unfortunately, he became cut off and surrounded, so he surrendered to the Persians, and then the Persians recruited him into their army. So everyone's changing sides during this time. He was pardoned by the Persian king Artaxerxes III, and Mentor led 3 units of Greek mercenaries against Nectar Nebo II at the Battle of Pelusium. Now, Nectar Nebo II had quite a large army. He had 100,000 strong of Greek mercenary and Egyptians, and their strategy was to use the terrain of Lower Egypt to slow down the onslaught of the Persian army, which was huge. 100,000 immortals, 220,000 levies from the Persian Empire, and of course you had Greek mercenaries as well. I think around about 13,000 Greek mercenaries. So the idea was to slow them down so their numbers would count for nothing. Is this another Thermopylae but in Egypt? So unfortunately for Nectar Nebo II, the Greek mercenaries were the edgy ones. They were the professional soldiers really, and they worked out how they could outflank Nectar Nebo's army. He retreated on Memphis, and then he led a retreat down into Kush, where he later died. And Egypt would not be ruled by home rule for another 2,296 years, until 1953 ACE. Trixus III ruled Egypt for 5 years. He re-established the satrap system of appointing a governor. With this large army, the soldiers had to be paid. So he pulled down the walls of Memphis and sacked Memphis and looted all the temples in Egypt. He wanted that gold and silver to pay his troops. He returned to Babylon and had his tomb cut next to his father, just outside the cliffs of Persepolis. And you can see, if we have a look at a couple of facades of these tombs, they're very much in an Egyptian style. Remember, it was Cambyses II who took back Egyptian workers to train Persian workers, Persian craftsmen and stonemasons, how to do this work. So that work was, that skill set was passed on to Persian stonemasons who produced these lovely facades. Artaxerxes III was successful because he employed Greek mercenaries to put down the various revolts throughout his empire, and there was a period of stability within the empire by employing Greek mercenaries. Artaxerxes III established the second Persian period in Egypt, which was the 31st dynasty, from 343 BCE to 332 BCE. His father, Artaxerxes II, was the Persian king who funded the Spartans so they could defeat Athens. So once the defeat of Athens had succeeded, the Spartans and the Athenians were invited to be Greek mercenaries within the Persian Empire, and they were working both sides. They were working as mercenaries for Egypt and mercenaries for the Persians. It was the Greek mercenaries that really swung the battle at Pelusium in favour of Artaxerxes III, and without those skilled, trained soldiers of the Greek mercenaries, I don't think that the Persians would have been able to get past the Nile Delta into Egypt. Remember what Artaxerxes III had in his army. He had 100,000 immortals. So if a person died in the immortals, they were immediately replaced. Always stayed 100,000 strong. He had 230,000 levies from around his empire. So these are people who've been sent by the satrap governors. They're not really up for a fight, but they're just doing what they're told. And then, of course, the 14,000 Greek mercenaries, full professional soldiers, they want to be paid at the end of this conflict. He was succeeded by his son, called Arses, who became Artaxerxes IV. So Artaxerxes IV was the son of Artaxerxes III. He ruled in name only, he was second king of this 31st dynasty between 338 BCE and 336 BCE. A revolt broke out in Upper Egypt, and it was led by an Egyptian. Well, is he Egyptian? Karbabash? I don't know. If you look at a lot of these Egyptian kings like Nectar, Nebo, and Samtak, they've got real Semitic sounding names. I think they were originally from grandparents of foreigners who settled in Egypt, and they were Egyptianized foreigners who were in positions of power. So this revolt started in 336 BCE, and it was the satrap governor who eventually took control of Upper Egypt back in Susa in Persia. Artaxerxes IV was poisoned by a Persian courtier called Bagos, and Bagos wanted to establish a puppet king who became Darius III. Then Darius III poisoned the courtier to secure his position. So the satrap in Egypt is unified Upper and Lower Egypt under the satrap system. Darius III is king of Egypt in this 31st dynasty in name only, but you can imagine all this plotting and insecurity going on in the Persian Empire. The satrap governor wasn't happy with it, and at the first instance he surrendered Egypt to Alexander the Great. So really, Darius III is the last king of this 31st dynasty and this Persian period. Coming up next, it's going to be Alexander the Great. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, press subscribe, thumbs up, and I'll see you real soon. Bye for now.